What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to another episode of Couch Coaches. Will there be a storm coming this Sunday, or will the sun shine down on the Warriors to help them break a 16-game losing streak against the Storm? That's what we're going to be talking about tonight, and much more. So first things first, I'm John Lazaron. My co-host Richard Leddy. How you going, bro?
Really, John, kia ora, everyone listening. I'm good, bro, but I was a little bit lost on the weekend. Really just was just kept checking the skybox to see if when the Warriors were playing, but there was no Warriors to look forward to, so I had to settle to watch. I didn't watch as much as I would have liked to, but there was enough entertaining lead on to keep me entertained throughout the weekend. But I'm just fizzed to another weekend of Warriors footy. And yeah, to see whether we can break this long drought. Although Joey Johns is saying with the Storm's bogey team, so
Yeah, I saw that.
take that.
Did you know that we had a bye on the weekend? You did, right? You knew.
Yeah, of course I did.
Yeah, I went to say. You
No,
went to say.
I just was just twiddling my thumbs, like, what do I do? What do I do
Yeah.
with my weekend
No, I
without the
got you.
Warriors to sort of look forward to? It's a bit lost, but I had my
Yeah.
parents in town, so yeah, it was a little bit. I was preoccupied anyway, so.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I got to watch a little bit of the games on the weekend. I thought the Tigers Broncos game was a really good one. Like, I know the Broncos ended up, winning quite comfortably in the end, but it was actually quite a good game. I thought, the Tigers were right in it, and just a few kind of defensive lapses, and the Broncos took them apart. But I thought, for a big chunk of the game, it was actually quite a good game, and they
Yeah,
actually were up
there's a
pretty close to one.
yeah, as I said, there's a period of game of that game I was watching, and yeah, it was just back and forth. Like there was just heaps of tries, and the Tigers were scoring some really
Yeah,
good tries. And yeah, we're keeping it. But yeah, like, I think I went to bed before the end of the game. It looked like the Broncos scored a few late tries to run away with it, but the score didn't do the game
yeah,
justice. And that Thursday night game was an absolute barnstorm. I think it was 6 or 7 tries in the first half, and then there was just nothing in the second half, and then the Raiders decided to, run it on the last, and it was like Warriors footy of old watching that Raiders try and to win the game as well. So Hudson
yeah.
Young had a great game, couple of tries to him, couple of tries to Brendan Nicoria. Good game for some talented back rows and that one.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, the betting agencies must be loving this at the moment because it's so hard to pick who's going to win at the moment. Every round there's always an upset. You got
Yeah,
last week. You had what? You had the Storm losing to the Dragons, in the previous round, and then the Dragons lose to the Eels. Eels win their first game. And is it a coincidence that Dylan Walker happened to have a bit of he played a key part in that game. I mean, that's what I'm hearing from the commentary. I don't usually watch the game that much, but that's what I'm hearing, that he played a key part. That when he was on the field, that they all, sort of rose up, and can understand that. Did that the Warriors too, but yeah. So you never know who's going to win on the night or on the day. So it's been an awesome season to watch, but they must be loving it because I'm pretty sure people with multis won't be, they won't be getting their multis.
nah. I think that's our tipping comp. You got 3 last week, John. So
Oh, far out.
a bit of a rough week for you. I got 5, a little bit better. I tipped the Raiders and I tipped the Eels.
You did.
Um, and yeah, you tipped against the Bulldogs as well, and then we both had the Panthers. Yeah, so the Panthers lost 4 in a row. We haven't seen that in what feels like about 20
Nah.
years. Um, and then the Titans as well, pretty disappointing against the Dolphins. So the Titans are just really
Yeah.
struggling to figure out what's happening there because they looked really good in that game a few weeks ago against the Knights, but ever since they've been very, very average. So could be another
Yeah.
long season for Titans fans, I think.
Yep. Well, like you say, mate, it's been a roller coaster of a season. So long may it continue because it's just entertaining. So it's great for the game. But before we get into team naming and also the preview of the game, I just wanted to just address a couple of things with you. Before we get into that, it's first of all, Tamale Martin has come out saying, on air, I think it was a Sport Nation, that he intends to fulfill his contract this season. I can't remember if he's signed just to the end of this season or next season, but that he might be going for an extension. All I heard was that he was going to fulfill the contract this year. I don't know what's going to happen next year, but so that pretty much squashes the rumors that he's going to be gone effective immediately. Those are the rumors going around. So good to see that happening. But if he doesn't get regular first grade games, I don't see him staying any longer past the season. What do you reckon?
Yeah. So yeah, he's on a 3-year deal. And 2023. Yeah. So this is
Yep.
his last year of his contract. Um,
Yep.
I think he just wants to do some more hunting and fishing while he can. To be honest, he's just like I can
Fair enough.
play New South Wales Cup. He's probably on a pretty good wicket, I imagine. Um, yeah, and yeah, he's there as a replacement when needed, but he'll be able to just not feel too guilty about a few midweek hunting trips or fishing trips. But oh
Fair
yeah, I
enough. Yeah.
mean we talked about it last week, John, and I think we both kind of said we wouldn't. I don't think anyone would hold it against him if he did leave. But good on him for,
Yep.
for seeing out a contract. So often these days we see players not see out contracts.
Yeah.
Contracts just it's just literally just a piece of paper these days to some of these players. So good to see some integrity there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, if you were him, if you got a good deal, kind of, I think Lee Leopard's a keen on him. Um, yeah, why would you not take it? You probably make some pretty good
Yeah.
coin, go play over there for two or three seasons. He's still pretty young. I was surprised. I mean, he's still only 29, so I've talked about halves recently. You got the likes of Cherry Evans, Reynolds, and Ben Hunt. Some of these guys. Sean Johnson played last year. A lot of these halves are playing till mid-30s, so he could still have another 3 or 4 years. So he's obviously had his health issues in the past. Yeah. So if I were him, I'd just be taking every day as it came. But he's by all counts, I haven't been watching too much the New South Wales Cup, but by all counts, he's carving up in that league. He's one of the players of the comp. So maybe he's
Yep.
just enjoying his footy, and as I said, he's probably on a pretty good wicket as well. So, um, all the best to him for what he
Yep.
decides to do. I do hope we see him in first grade again. I'm sure we will at some point, knowing the Warriors' luck with injuries and all that as well.
Yeah. Well said, mate. Well said. Well, let's hope that we do actually get to see him more because he is a great player. So the other sort of rumor that was floating around, and we actually the funny thing is that we use this as an April Fool's joke on our social channels, and some people actually believed this, and some people knew we were just joking. But Joey Manu is coming to the Warriors. Well, obviously that was a joke, but there was a rumor today on The Age, which is an Australian paper, that he's already gone to his the French rugby club, which is who he's going. Apparently, he's going there after his Japanese contract is over. Japanese rugby contract is over. He's asking for an immediate release, due to family reasons, and that he could be, looking to line up, something here in New Zealand. But I mean, it didn't say Warriors specifically; it just said in New Zealand. So who knows? There could be in rugby here. So, but interesting. If that actually happens, we were like, "Oh, we fooled you." No, we actually were serious. We were actually serious. We called it. We called it. Well, you called it.
Yeah,
You called it actually.
yeah. You said it straight away. You're like, it could happen though, bro. Like, so you don't want to
Yeah.
be making a April's Fool's joke that's too believable. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, well, maybe the compassionate grounds will finally work in the Warriors' favour for once in their life.
True.
Like we've seen it a few times in the last few years. But yeah,
Yeah.
obviously with Fisher Harris coming over there last year, and then maybe getting Joe Manu as well. So, oh, I mean
Yeah.
that would be huge. That'd be the biggest signing in the history of the club, wouldn't it? Like it'd be. And
I
there's
mean,
still
one,
obviously
it'd be
those
up there.
Kalen Ponga rumors there as well. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, who do you think would be the biggest signing? And not maybe not as far as sort of like what they performed, just that feeling you had when you heard this player was announced. Like, anyone come to mind there?
Um, honestly, just when just going on the velocity of like how the comments, etc., and the hype and stuff. I think James Fisher Harris, to be honest, when he was announced, um, I think that was a big one, and I'm not saying that other signings prior to him in yesteryears have went just as big, but I'm just think that when he was announced, I think everyone was just taken aback. Everyone was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" I remember Denham Kemp, from the bloke in the bar when they announced it. They
Yeah,
showed him. Did you remember see that video of him when they announced it? He was like, "Oh, that like sort of thing." So just by that reaction itself, it just shows you how big that signing was. So in my opinion, probably James Fisher Harris, your Fish is
yeah,
probably the biggest sort of hype signing for the Warriors, and that I can think of right on top of my head right now. What about
yeah.
yourself?
Yeah, he'd be up there. I was also thinking of when Roger came back, when he went to Union and then he came back. Like I
Yeah,
remember, that was.
yeah,
I mean, it was sort of expected, but I was just so over the moon about it.
yeah,
I reckon Sam Tompkins is probably the name that comes to mind, and obviously the Gamble didn't
oh,
play off
okay,
so well, but I feel like he was sort of touted as, the savior, and I don't think he was a horrible player. He wasn't bad at all, but he just kind of probably didn't quite live up to what the Warriors fans were hoping for, and yeah, sort of. I think he was only there for a season in the end, wasn't he? Maybe two. But yeah, I
Yeah, it
mean, as
wasn't there
far as sort of
long.
like he
Yeah,
was sort of touted to be this huge player, but I mean, he's gone back to the UK, and that was probably 11, 12 years ago. He's still playing now, like the club that Chance might be inside. The rumors that Chance could be inside too. He's there playing now and retiring at the end of the year. So yeah, that
yeah.
probably the name that came to my mind, with a special shout out to the Fish, and also to Roger, sort of, when he came back from Union. It was just more joy on my behalf.
Fair enough, fair enough. If you're listening out there, let us know in the comments, whether on YouTube or on Facebook when we put this up, who you think it was the biggest hype signing in the Warriors history. You've heard us, what we think, but we want to hear what you have to say as well. So, anyway, one more thing I wanted to ask you is that one of the biggest news going around, and well, one of sort of the debates going on at the moment with the NRL is the eligibility for Origin. Because a lot of players are now wanting to sort of that play Origin currently want to now play for Samoa, which they technically can because they're a tier 2 nation in terms of international rugby league, and so they can technically play for New South Wales or Queensland and play for New South Wales or Queensland. But now, people are saying, there's all these should that be abolished, because should they be allowed to? Should it be just for Australians? Should it be just something that's sort of just exclusive to Australians only? If you have to commit to Australia, the Kangaroos, if you want to play Origin. What are your thoughts on that? Because I'm hearing a lot of different thoughts. I heard, like, for example, Nathan Highmarsh saying to me he loves it for, to grow rugby league internationally, and it will still keep Origin strong. You got Kieran Foran. I heard him today on the Levels podcast, for example. Kiwi 5'8", awesome player, but he grew up playing junior footy in Sydney from the age of 8, I think it is, and he said that that he loves playing for the Kiwis. He loved the jersey, but he said if he had the chance to play Origin, if he was allowed to do both, he would have proudly worn the New South Wales Blues jumper. He would have loved to have worn it next to Mitchell Pearce, one of his great mates. He was saying. So he was saying that he would have loved it if you could do that, play for New Zealand but also play Origin. I mean, I've got mixed feelings about it. I can understand the whole international thing where, like, you want to grow the game internationally, but does it sort of negate the what Origin's about, if you just allow people to play for other countries other than Australia? I mean, I'm a bit 50-50 on it. I haven't made my mind up yet, but wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it would just depend on sort of what the rule. It couldn't just be that one day you used to live in Sydney, and then you moved to Queensland one day, and then all of a sudden you lived there for 2 days, and like, there'd have to be sort of rules around having played, as you said, like using Kieran Foran for example, there, like, yeah, having played sort of age grade stuff growing up.
Yeah,
So, but it is. I mean, it's great for the international game, and we've seen what's happened in the last few years with sort of Tonga and Samoa, even Fiji. It's been so good for the international game. I mean, Australia still wins every World Cup, but it's a bit closer. So, and having, what, Tonga made the final in 2019, and 2019, 2018, and then Samoa made it last time. So yeah, I mean, it's good for the game to have those guys playing, but you'd have to just make sure there is rules around that. I mean, I wouldn't mind it happening. Um, but yeah, why can't Kiwis play if that's the case? Like, why can't you have Tamalolo? Like, there's a lot of talk about sort of Tamalolo playing back in the day. Why couldn't Ponga play and then come play for the Kiwis? Um,
yeah,
where do you draw the line? Because I mean, when you've got the likes of, like someone could have Haas and Tino Fa'asuamaleaui playing in the front row. Like, imagine coming up against those two. Obviously, well known from schoolboy rugby, schoolboy league, and they had that big punch up a few years ago. So yeah, imagine, like those two, the first opening few sets of the game with those two hitting it up from the back fence. You'd be scared to play against
yeah,
them. And yeah, so yeah, it's just one of those things where if it was to happen, they just have to make sure the correct rules were there.
Yeah, well, they need to stop finding loopholes. I think if they're going to do that, you're saying you need to find rules. I mean, back in the day, you had, Tony Carroll, Queenslander, came and played for the Kiwis, played centre for the Kiwis, and a few years later on, he's playing for the Kangaroos and playing Origin again, sort of thing. So it's just
Yeah,
like there are always loopholes, and everything, so they've got to tighten it up. I mean, whatever they do, they've got to make sure it's set in stone, instead of just changing it and finding loopholes. But interesting. Like I said, I'm still 50-50 on it. So I can understand growing the international game side of things, but I'm also understanding that it's proud New South Walesman or proud Queenslander. They want to represent their state, and if you're not from the state, or if you just grew up there as a teenager, I mean,
yeah.
I guess it depends how you feel about it anyway. But anyway, that's what I wanted to ask you there. Let's get into the team naming and the game. So Warriors playing the Storm in Melbourne on Sunday afternoon. You want to go through the teammate on the Warriors team?
Mm-hmm. If you've been watching the Warriors games this year, it's pretty much the same team as always, but we've got Chance at the back up against Ryan Peppenhausen, Tuapiki and Pompey on the wings. So Pompey, after playing centre last game, moves out, and Rocco Berry will make his debut for the season with Ali Taua. And the centres, our beloved half pairing of Chanel Harris Tavita and Luke Metcalf up against Cam Munster and Jerome Hughes.
Mm.
James Fisher Harris and Mitch Barnett in the front with Wade Egan, Cook Kate Bowl, Morata Neokore. Neokore marking up against Eli Katoa, former Warrior, who's turned into probably one of, if not the best second row in the game. And then Aaron Clark to finishing off the starting 13 with the bench of Bunty Afoa, Jackson Ford, Dimitri Valmolga, and Lika Harasima. So Tanner Boyd comes in at 18th man, so he's sort of obviously
Mm.
making his way up the pecking order. And there's plenty of other names there on the extended bench with Laban, Healy, Tamari Martin, and Kossi that we've talked about the last few weeks. So um, yeah, I think I'm not. I mean, I think it was the right decision to bring Rocco Berry back, but
Yep.
I think we both shouted out Kossi last week for the effort
Yeah.
that he put in that game. I thought it was the best we've seen from him um in
Definitely.
almost years. So
Yeah.
but I think you do have to have your best team, and Rocco Berry is obviously, like, from the last 2 years, he's been one of the most consistent performers when he's fit. So I'm
Yeah.
can't wait to see him back. I'm glad that Pompey's got another shot as well, because he similarly was amazing that game, and has been Mr. Reliable for the last 2 seasons now. He seemed to be sort of on the outer in 2023, and then he made that centre jersey his own. And so good that they're still, even when they've got these two young guys coming up, they're still finding a spot for him. And obviously, yeah, Tuapiki, great to see. I thought
Yeah.
maybe they might make a change in the bench. I think Bunty brought a lot of energy last week, and I really liked what I saw. But we've obviously both talked about the addition of maybe bringing a bit more utility in there with the likes of Sam
Yep.
Healy. But I mean, not broke, don't fix it, as they say, and we've won three in the trot. So
Yep.
I'm not going to complain too much about that team, to be honest. What were your original thoughts?
Yeah, no surprises, to be honest. Had a feeling once Rocco was, ready to go, he would go jump straight back in the team. I didn't know when that was going to happen, whether it was this week or the week, if it doesn't matter how long. But I knew that, I mean, I think everyone knows that as soon as he's fit and ready to go, he would have jumped straight back in. So, yeah, like you said, shout out to Kossi. He played a really good game, one of his best games in a while. But yeah, I knew that would happen. And I'm like you, like with the Bunty thing, like yeah, he didn't play that badly or anything, but I just thought against a Storm team that runs teams ragged, with their fitness, you think maybe someone like a utility, someone that's got maybe a bit more, they can last a bit longer on the field. You know what I mean? They can stay a bit longer on the field. Might be more worth it. Like someone like Healy or Tomato Martin, someone like that. Can't call on Dylan Clark. Oh, sorry, Dylan Clark. Dylan Clark. Sorry, out. What's going on? Can't call on the old Dylan Walker. Sorry, mate. It's getting late. You can't call on Dylan Walker to come on and do his thing from the bench. So yes, I'd rather have a utility there. But like you said, it's a winning team, so stick with it for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, and it's going to be a challenge playing up against that Storm team, coming off the back of I think it was about 48-24 against Manly, and that was only because Manly scored about three tries in the last 15 minutes. So they were just all over that Manly team, and it's not a bad Manly team. Obviously missing Tommy T, but apart from that, pretty much full strength. Um, when they've got
Yeah,
Pappenhausen, Munster, Hughes, and Grant playing, it's never going to be easy. You alluded to it before. We've lost 16 straight against them. So our last one against the Storm was July 2015. So it's nearly 10 years
far out.
ago, which is
It's a
a long
horrible
time.
record, right? It's a horrible record to have, right?
Yeah,
And
16 games, 10 years. Overall, we've played 52. They've won 34. We've won 16. So, yeah, they've absolutely dominated this matchup. And
yeah.
we've only won 3 of 14 at Amy Stadium. So,
Yeah, I think
um,
what Joey Johns, what Joey was all a lot talking about. I think we need to talk about the bogey team because it's definitely we're definitely not their bogey team going on those stats. But I think he was talking about them in finals because we've done really well
yeah,
against them in finals football. I think that's where we've
we're,
actually done
we're,
well against the Storm.
we're
Yeah,
all aware of that. Like we all remember where we were when Michael Witt scored that try in the corner, or when Johnny J did his little step around Kevin Proctor and popped the ball to Louis Brown to score that try.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
two of my most vivid NRL memories. But yeah, hasn't been great watching. Well, saying that, remember what happened at AME Park last year? We should have won that game if it wasn't for
We should
an
have. Yep.
absolute probably the try of the year with Xavier Coates scoring in the corner. And there was a few, like I think the Storm scored two late tries in the last sort of about 3 or 4 minutes. I feel like in that game, didn't they? And there was that charge, that sort of half-assed charge down that Mitch Barnett did, and so if it wasn't for that, we would have broken the curse. But I think maybe if we're playing them later in the season, we might break the curse then. But I'm not holding my breath this week, But
Yeah, I mean,
what I want to see, I don't want to see them. I don't want to see a repeat of Anzac Day 2022, was it?
no,
Yeah, I'd rather
70
not see
points,
that.
wasn't it? It was 70
70
points.
12, I think. Yeah, 70, something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
one of
it
the
was
one of the
horrible.
dark days.
It was bad. It was, but I mean, Warriors were doing it hard. When it comes to they were in Australia because of COVID. They were trying to keep the comp going as
Oh
well.
yeah,
I remember at the end of that game, Cam Smith came into the sheds and had talking to them. He like gave them a talk to say thank. I think a lot of the captains did that after each game, where they were like thanking them for keeping the comp afloat, but also
yeah,
just to keep their heads up and stuff. So that was really good of Cameron Smith to do that. But so that's what I remember that game as well. But yeah, this game is really concerning because, for example, I mean, the week before the Storm lost to the Dragons, and it's been a season where you don't know who's going to win, who's going to turn up on the day, because some teams that are surprising other teams. That's why if you look at the ladder, it looks nothing like what the years previously have looked like when it comes to the ladder. You got the Panthers in the what 13th or 14th place or something, or even probably further down. You got Roosters down there as well, so it looks very different. And but I think what happened, against Manly last week with on the weekend, sorry, with Storm is the big thing that changed the Storm was Jerome Hughes. He's been out. He gets back in. He was named on the reserves, but I mean, we all knew that if he was named on the reserves, he was going to come back in. You know, he was going to come back, and he did, and he made a big difference. And I think when you got him and Cam Munster pairing up, doing their thing, in his kicking game as well, and his kicking and running game is elite. It's right up there, and Dally a medal winner as well. So he's just I think he's a Dally. He won a Dally last year, didn't he?
yeah,
He did, yeah. So he's just shows how amazing he is, and I think him getting injected into the team last week made a big difference to the Storm overpowering Manly by quite a big margin in the end. So that's what I worry about is that when they're at full strength, they're very difficult to bring down.
yeah,
But it'll be a good test for the Warriors because we've won 3 on the trot. We've had a break now. I don't know if having a break before a big game like this is a good thing or a bad thing. it's hard to tell sometimes. Sometimes you want to keep the momentum going by playing every week. Sometimes you need a break to restore the body, but it's just
You
going to be a
take
good
it.
test either way, whether to see where they're at. I mean, still early in the season, if we know, but we'll still love to see them put on a good fight and see what we can do because we're not here just to make up the numbers, right? The Warrior, we're not here to make up the numbers. We're here to win and win the premiership. And if you want to win the premiership, games like this against the premiership favourites is where we're gonna find out where we're at and where we need to improve. But again, as we've spoke about in the last few weeks, things like the Warriors' last tackle kicking game, that sort of stuff. They've got to improve those things. They can't just continue with those plays. And for me, it's quite negative. It's quite a negative tactic to do it every play. So, and I'm not gonna. Sorry, guys, I'm not gonna go on about it for the next 5 minutes or anything. I'm not gonna go on about it, but I just think in the seriousness, they need to change that tactic. It's I've been honestly just focusing a lot on the other games where last tackle plays, what they've been doing, and most of the teams, like 90% of the teams, no, about 90% of the time, sorry, compete for the ball when they put it up and under up, and in a game against the Tigers and the Broncos, Lockie Galvin. He put a few grubbers in that led to tries. He did one. He did one against the Warriors as well. That's like Warriors. Take note of this. Do the kicks that are necessary on the day. Play to the on a case by case basis of what's happening. Don't just okay. Our tactic is to kick the ball. We'll do it no matter where we're at on the field. It's just So I just think they need to improve things like that. But hopefully with Rocco there as well, they'll improve the defense. Is he playing on the right or the left? He plays on the right, doesn't he? Rocco. He plays on the right. So I think hoping that strengthens that defensive area there as well. But it'll make or break. I mean, no, not make or break, but it'll give us a good indication about where we're at this game, I think. And if we can put on a good showing, it'll be a big boost.
Yeah, I think I was looking at the odds before, and I think we're 16.5 point underdogs. I thought that's too big of a number. Too big of a number.
It is. It
So
is. Yeah.
I'd happily take the plus 16.5. I think that's probably it would be my bet of the weekend. Because we should be able to keep it tight. I know this Storm team, once they get on a roll, they can have a good go. But the way this sort of full packs playing and the way we've been defending, I think our defense has been pretty good on the whole. It's not perfect. There's still a few flaws, but yeah, I think if we can just start with the intensity that we sort of started in that Tigers game, we sort of
Yeah.
forced a drop out early from a couple of really good kick chases. I know you talk about the kicking tactic, and we're not going to be able to get away with a lot of that with the likes of Coates and
Exactly.
Pappenhausen at the back there. Grant Anderson's playing like it's just a classic example of the Storm and what they can do to a player. He just looks like a really ordinary player,
Yeah.
but it's something in the way that Bellamy he sees the strengths, and I mean he's spectacular. I mean he's got a hat trick last week. I thought last season he was so good. I think he was been injured for the grand final, but would have definitely played. And like he just he looks like one of
Yeah.
the greatest wingers of all time playing for the Storm team. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to be able to be wary of that. You can't give Pappenhausen any room. Coates is one of the best, most sort of physical wingers. And those chips to the corner when we're close to the line, we're going to struggle to get it over Coates. So yeah, we're going to need to try some different. Put some chips through, put some little up and unders or something like that, and
Yeah.
just we saw last week there were some crazy bounces of the ball. I don't know if you saw in that uh the
Oh
Rabbitohs
yes.
game with Latrell Mitchell with those dropouts, and like it's the bounce the ball. It's just you gotta try your luck and see what
Yeah.
happens. So hopefully we'll be able to um do that. But
Well,
yeah,
what what
if
what
we're
do you?
gonna win, I'll be very happy. But I'm not. Yeah, as I said before, I'm not on my breath for that.
Yeah, fair enough. But what do you think the Warriors need to do? Like, for example, is there a specific? I mean, the Storm are full of players that you need to stop and bring down. But is there anyone specifically that you can point out that the Warriors need to stop that will help sort of repel their attack a little bit? Their playmakers are Munster and Jerome Hughes, but you've got Harry Grant. Because for me, it would be Harry Grant. But if we can stop him and his ruck speed and because he's the biggest grub, so you need to stop him. You need to stop him in his tracks. But who do you think? What do you think the Warriors need to do, or who do you think they need to stop? To sort of keep the Melbourne Storm at bay?
Oh, I think it's that sort of combination on the right between sort of Hughes, Katoa and when Pappenhausen comes in as well. Like when they just do stuff that, it'll be 3-on-3, and then all of a sudden the way that they sort of the way that they play the game, they just call, just make these really easy overlaps and that sort of thing, and
Yeah,
just make it, like just making line breaks and as easy as that. I mean, and Pappenhausen, so both Pappenhausen and Hughes are so quick off their feet. So it's probably just here looking towards. I'd say Hughes is probably the man there, but what he can do as far like and what
yeah,
how much of a fool he can make the defenses look.
yeah,
That's probably where I'd be yeah, like most concerned about
yeah,
if the Storm do get in one of those roles. Yeah, they just they can score 3 tries in 10 minutes pretty easily. So we just have to be very aware of that.
yeah,
I think for the Warriors, I'd be looking to Wade Egan, to be honest. I think he's been um and the wins that we've had this year, I think he's been one of, if not our best. And uh, he's been one of the best hookers in the comp, I reckon.
yep,
And just like he had a bit of a lull last year. I don't think he wasn't quite at the level that we'd seen him in 2023. But from what we've seen so far, I think he's been great. So if he can kind of, and he's sort of running the ball a lot more from dummy and making and he's got a couple of really good running halves around him, and we saw that, and especially in that Tigers game with that try. So and I think he set up Noah Corey's one as well, just with a little, little
yeah,
sort of dummy under the dummy run, and then a good ball to Noah Corey. So yeah, that's where I'd be looking for the Warriors, where they need to sort of get some front football. But as far as defensively, that right edge in particular, sort of based around Hughes, would be where I'd be. I'm just going to be a little bit squeamish every time I see him get the ball close to the
yeah.
line.
Fair enough, bro. And actually, the more you talk about it, the more I'm really realizing, yeah, you're right. Because as I mentioned before, he's the one that made a difference in the game. Because if we'd come into this game, just say coming into this game, Hughes wasn't available, he was still out injured, and then I would be feeling a lot more confident. No, I would be more confident that we can contain Munster and the likes of Munster and Harry Grant, etc. I would be actually quite confident. But now that he's come in, it's not because I'm like, oh my gosh, Jerome Hughes, he's an amazing player. It's because you saw what he can do when he actually came back in, and when he combines with the other players, you can see what he can do. Like you said, he's got a great kicking game. He's got a great running game as well. He attacks. He attacks as well. He doesn't just play the ball and makes things happen. He attacks as well. He's a running halfback, and yeah. So I just think that, like you said, you feel squirmish when he's got the ball. I'll be the same. I'm a bit worried when he gets his hands on the ball because you don't know what magic he's going to pull out. So yeah, containing Jerome Hughes is probably, yeah, you're right. I think containing Jerome Hughes is probably the key to sort of like keeping Melbourne Storm at bay, because if you can contain him and keep him off his game, then you've got a real chance. As you've seen in the previous games when they didn't have him in there. So yeah, good call. But I mean, we're not doing tips yet, but are you picking? Are you gonna pick the Storm to overcome the Warriors by a big margin, or are you gonna have show the faith and have the Warriors break that hoodoo?
I'm going to show the faith and have the Storm 1-12.
Oh,
That's,
okay. I thought you were gonna go the other way. I thought I was gonna hear the
that's,
Warriors.
that's the extent of my faith. Oh, look, I'd love to, man, but like, I just stats are against them. And I mean, this is incredibly good Melbourne side. Like I really
Yep.
rate them. I think I picked them to take the premiership. I think you did as well at the start of the season,
I did
didn't
as
you?
well. Yep. I did as
Yeah.
well. Yep.
So and we're playing over there. Maybe if it was at Mount Smart, as I said before, we might be able to sneak one. But yeah, I mean we haven't beat them in 9.5 years, bro. So nearly
Yeah.
nearly 10 years. Yeah, 9.75 years. So no, yeah, Storm wants. I go Storm 1-12. But yeah, as I said before, that plus 16.5, you can watch that, you can back that, and then if we do win, you just it's one of the easiest wins you'll ever have.
Yeah. Nah. It's unfortunate. I mean, like because I mean, they know my rugby league brain is saying Storm, you know, sort of thing, but my rugby league heart is saying Warriors as always. So it's a hard one. I'll reveal it at the end when we do our tips and stuff like that. But What are you most looking forward to about this game?
Um, I just want to see, yeah, I mean, I sort of mentioned before, I want to see, yeah, Wade again, rip it up in the middle there, and I want to see just this halves combination, sort of bring it to the next level. They've been solid so far without being spectacular, but I don't know if you've read this week. There's been some big names in New Zealand Rugby League sort of talk them up and say this is, and particularly Metcalf. Like he's the he's the seven of the future. So yeah, I want to see a bit more inventive kicking, but.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm loving what I see from Wade Egan, and when he's run the ball and finding that space around the ruck, we've sort of been benefiting from it. So yeah, that'd be what I'm most looking forward to see. How about yourself?
Um, yeah, well, like I mentioned before, it's just to see where we're at. I think this is a good game to test ourselves to see where we're at. I don't think the other games really. So I mean, Manly, yes, when we beat Manly, because they look pretty, pretty hot on fire. But obviously there were some internal things going on. DCE as well. I don't think he'd announced it then at the time when he was leaving and stuff. But it was leading up to it, so can't really tell. But I think this game, especially with pretty much a full strength Melbourne Storm side, it'll be a good indication of where we're at and what we need to do to improve. Because even like just for example, just say we do lose, just say we do lose, and depending on how we lose, how many points we lose by, or how we lose, it'll be a good indication to see where we're at. Because Melbourne Storm are definitely the high flying favourites of this competition, and I think that that's what I'm most looking forward to is just analysing to see where the Warriors are at, and it gives us you can think that if they do put in a good performance, for example, and win, awesome, brilliant, we're right there. And if they lose, just say Friday, just like within 6 to 8 points, for example, you're thinking, okay, we lost, but look, this was a full strength Melbourne side who was amazing. This was an amazing full strength Melbourne side. We can do this. We need to improve some games and just and just build up towards the next time we see them. I'm not sure if we play them again in the season, but just build up towards thinking like, no, we've got this. We can get there. We can play them again. We can change things. So for me, that's what I'm most looking forward to is to seeing where we're at and how they go about it. Because they need to treat it like a grand final. They need to treat it like a grand final because they're playing against a team that probably be in the grand final. So that's what I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah, but we don't want to give away your tricks in round robin. We only beat them in finals games, so
It's true,
when
true,
it really counts, when it really
true,
counts.
true. Very, very true. Well, look, anything else you want to bring up about the game?
No, but I think we've summed it all up. Just up the mighty wires and yeah, hopefully they can cover the 16.5.
Yeah, no, well, I'm just, I just, like I said, the brain is saying the storm, but I'm still got a glimpse, just a glimpse of hope that the Warriors are going to pull out something, really amazing. But hopefully, it's not like they're peaking at the wrong time. Hopefully they're not like peaking at the wrong time. But I would still like to see a good, solid performance. Like even if we lose, still want to see a solid performance, and it just gives me hope and faith for the rest of the season that they can continue on that. For example, if we were playing the Bulldogs, for example, who are top of the table, haven't lost the season, they're 5-0 right now. And if we were playing the Bulldogs, I would have confidence that we could do it. I would have confidence that we could do it. So people can say, well, but they're top of the table, they're winning games. But yeah, I still think that we could beat the Bulldogs. I don't think they're unbeatable. That's the thing about the Bulldogs. They're winning their games, but I don't think they're unbeatable. And so I just want to see a really good, strong performance by the Warriors to see where we're at. But look, let's move on to tips, mate. Do you wanna? We're not doing. Sorry, just everyone knowing, we usually do Wiley M's and stuff and do other segments as well. But because it was a bye, we're just gonna focus on the team naming as we did and also preview. But now we'll go into tips. Unless you want to do ask you, did you have something for ask Chat GPT, Richard?
I did actually. What did I say? I was thinking about Wade Egan, and we're talking about eligibility as well, so this is quite fitting. So I just said,
Yeah.
a few years ago there was some chat about Egan with the New South Wales, but I know Michael Maguire had mentioned him as a like, or wouldn't mind seeing what his eligibility was like. So I don't know where his Kiwis eligibility is, but I did ask ChatGPT. So in summary, there's a bit
Yeah.
of a. I won't bore you with the sort of the bullet points, but I'll give you the summary of what ChatGPT said. In summary, while Egan has been a standout performer for the Warriors and is a candidate for New South Wales selection, his ability to play for the Kiwis remains unconfirmed. Therefore, unless he meets the specific criteria set by international rugby league regulations, he would not be able to represent New Zealand in international rugby league. So, yeah, kind of goes back to what we said before about eligibility and no one quite knows what it is for different teams. Maybe the Kiwis will be a tier two team in no time. So, well, we'll see, bro. Um, yeah, should we go do some tips? Or did you want to do the award?
Yep. Let's do that.
Sweet. So we're just gonna do a real quick round the table. I've got five questions here. I think hopefully I sent you five questions. Just for the way too season, way too early season review from the Warriors for 2025. So we'll start off with best forward. So what we're going to do, we'll do a quick awards for 2025 so far. We'll review the way too early awards, I'm calling them, and we'll just give a few awards out for the 4 games so far. We'll start off with the best forward of the year. I'm giving that to Aaron Clark. I think he's been absolutely immense. I've been so impressed with him, and he's brought so much week in, week out, especially with Dylan Walker. Since Dylan Walker's gone, he's really stepped up. So he's my best forward. You got a
Yep.
best forward for us, John?
Yep. Same. Same, mate. Aaron Clark got it down. I mean, I had Dylan Walker. I had him. Well, I was saying at the start of the season that he should be starting and he should be then Aaron Clark should be coming off the bench. But Aaron Clark's been, like you said, immense. You've basically explained it, in a nutshell right there. So yeah, Aaron Clark for me was the best. Has been the best forward so far.
Nice. Yeah. Hard to
Mm.
disagree with that. As it was mine also. Best back. I'm going with Jans actually. I think there's
Oh,
been a
okay.
few questions about his spot, his future. But particularly in the last 2 games, I think he was one of the best on the park and just back to sort of I've talked about it with a few players, but back to 2023. So I've been really, really liked what I've seen from him. So hopefully he can keep
Yep.
bringing that heat. Who have you got for
Yep.
us?
Well, I have got Ali Leatoa, so I've got
Fair
him,
enough.
and he's been. I think he's been amazing. Such a young guy, but he seems to be as each game goes by, he's maturing more and more, and he's finishing off the balls that are given to him. He's finishing off, creating that sort of gap, running it straight through, scoring those tries. That's why he's on the try. He's getting those tries as well. He's finishing it off perfectly. So I think he's just doing really well and star of the future.
Yeah, that's a great shout.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it must be our
Yep.
top try scorer as well, eh? Um,
Should be up there. Yeah.
most improved. I've got a feeling we might be on the same page here, but I'll start us off and say
Yep.
Jackson Ford. I think
Okay.
his effort off the bench has just been incredible, and I've just been so impressed with him. We both pretty
Yep.
much said we didn't think that he had a spot left in the team, and he's more than proved us wrong there. So, are
Yep.
you going with Jackson Ford, or have you found somewhere else?
I did have Jackson Ford at first, but I did change last minute. I put New Kure as my
Okay,
most
nice.
improved, not only because I just thought he was. I thought he was just well. He was. I think by his own standards, he was not great last year. And coming into this season, I didn't think he'd improved at all. But the last couple of games, I've seen him just slowly starting to get back to his best. Not maybe, no, maybe not to his best, but he's slowly getting there. You know what I mean? He's starting to improve, and this is the most improved award, so that's why I put him there because he's slowly starting to improve and get up there again. So that's only a good thing for the Warriors because he can be devastating on his day, and if as long as and he's running some hard lines, isn't he, at the moment? And if he continues to do that, we'll be sweet. So
Yeah.
yeah, I had him as my most improved. Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I think those last 2 games in particular is the best we've seen from him
Mm.
in a very long time, at least since
Yeah.
2023. Most surprising is the next award, and I've given it to Lika Halasima. I obviously loved what I saw from him last year. Absolutely, he was explosive. But I sort of wasn't expecting to see him playing every week. But I
Yeah.
mean, there's no way they're taking that bench spot off him now. And obviously that try will go down and is probably the try of the season, I imagine. So yeah, Lika Halasima, my most surprising. Who
Yep.
who have you got there?
Oh, Jackson Ford.
Yeah,
I swapped them in
there you
there,
go.
and I mean, if you've been listening or watching our show, you'll know that I wasn't too impressed with Jackson Ford. To begin with, didn't think he should be there. Or wasn't so much too impressed with. I just thought there were other people better. That's what I said last week as well. But I think that, as I mentioned last week also, is that he's been the perfect sub. He's usually the first on the interchange to come on, and he stays on, plays a lot of minutes as well, and he's running some hard lines as well for someone who's a bit of a smaller body compared to a normal front rower. But he's doing a front rower's job as well, and he's actually doing a great job. And he made, like, again, last week I said it, he made 62 post contact meters last week. That's pretty good, by his standards and stuff. So I think, he's been my most surprising player. But hopefully more and more, he continues it, throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
That's my most
Right.
surprising player. Yeah.
Preach the converter, bro. Yeah, when you didn't have him as most improved, I had a feeling he might pop up there, to be honest. And I could have
Yeah.
said it the other way around as well. Um, so the final award is the MVP of the first 4 games of the season. Um, I've named 4 players already, but my MVP isn't one of those 4 players. I've gone elsewhere,
Oh,
and it's a
interesting.
player that I've mentioned already on the podcast tonight, and sung his praise. Wade Egan,
Ian.
loved what I've
Yeah, I
seen.
knew it.
Yeah,
I knew it.
yeah,
I knew it.
love what I've seen, and he's added so much to their attack, especially with this sort of experienced halves pairing. I think. So he's my early pick for Dally M Hooker of the Year. And also my early pick for the Simon Mannering medal. I think. Who have you
Nice.
got?
I had him as well. I was tossing up between him and Aaron Clark, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'll give it to Ian just to keep it different from my other picks, but very similar picks that we've had, so it's pretty good. It's good to know.
Yeah.
I just hope they can continue the form that they're going through, because they're going some really good patches of form. So again, long may it continue for the Warriors' sake. Yeah,
Amen, brother. Amen.
yeah, yep,
Should we do a quick round tips?
yep, yep,
Cool, cool. So we do have a Warriors game to look forward to, but it's not till Sunday afternoon. So we'll start on
yep,
Thursday night with the Dolphins and the Panthers. The Panthers have lost 4 straight, and the Dolphins are obviously coming off their first one of the season.
yeah,
I'm going to go the Panthers. I don't think we're going to lose 5 straight. How about yourself?
yeah. Same Panthers. Yep,
Okay.
yep,
Dragons Titans early Friday game. Dragons just lost to the Eels, and the Titans have been pretty atrocious. So might not be the best
yeah.
game, but you find some value in the Titans, or you think the Dragons will do it at
Nah,
home?
Dragons. I got Dragons. I mean, again, it's one of those ones you don't know who's going to come out, who's going to turn up on the day, but I think Dragons will take it.
Yeah, I think Tino's out for the Titans as well
Yeah,
with the crackdown. So Broncos Roosters up next. Roosters looked all right a few weeks ago, but they seem to have been found out a little bit, and
yeah,
the Broncos look like they're back to their best. So it's Suncorp too,
yeah. Well,
of course.
when is it not at Suncorp? When is it not at Suncorp? Yeah, no. I mean, the Roosters, they've dropped Chad Townsend because of his poor form. But I think they're bringing some young tall guy coming in to come in at 7. But don't know nothing about him. But don't know if he'll make a big difference either. But yeah, Broncos for me.
Yeah, same here. Sharks Eagles could be an all right game. Both teams will be pretty disappointed in their performances last week, but there's a lot of talent
Yeah,
on the field there.
yeah.
It's at Shark Park, but obviously not too far up the road for the Seagulls. Who you got there?
Sharks, Sharks. Yeah,
We have to go against you for one, so I'll take the
yep.
Seagulls quite happily.
All right.
Rabbitohs Cowboys. Cowboys obviously got up over the Panthers last week, and the Rabbitohs looked pretty good against the Roosters. And Latrell's
Yep.
back and looking pretty fit. I think he's playing 5'8" this week, so be interesting to see what happens. I'm happy to take the Rabbitohs. How about
I'm
yourself?
taking Rabbitohs as well. I've got them penciled down.
Late Saturday night game, Eels Raiders. Eels obviously coming off their first win of the season, and Raiders coming off a good win. Um, Raiders are good at home, but they haven't been great away from home. Do you think the Eels can sneak another one without
Nah,
Lomax?
nah. I think Raiders will take this one. Just.
Yeah, I can't abandon my beloved Raiders. So
Yep.
Stormwise, you going Warriors 13 plus, are you?
No, I wouldn't go that far. Like I said earlier, I do think the Storm will take it. So, am I just is this just a stupid thing to say? But I'll go Warriors. But even though I think the Storm will win it, am I just gonna just put the faith in the Warriors and just say, yep, put my hope in the Warriors and hope that we come away with a win and that I get that point there. So I'll go with the Warriors. I'm gonna go with the Warriors.
I'd be more than happy to lose this one. I'll go the Storm. So just need to even up the scoreboard a little bit.
Yep.
And then Knights and Tigers to finish it off. So
Yeah, it's a hard
we
one.
mentioned we mentioned before Tigers are pretty good against the Broncos, and the Knights. I think they didn't score a point against the Bulldogs, but they were played with 14 men for most of that game, so they actually did all right
Yeah,
considering.
and for a big chunk of the time, it was 0-0 for a big chunk of the time. I watched a lot of that game, and they weren't that bad. They actually weren't that bad. Um, I'd probably give it to the Bull. Sorry.
Tigers.
Because is Jerome Luai back this time? He's back this week, isn't he? I think this. He's
Yeah,
only had one game suspension.
just one
So,
week.
um, I'll give it to the Tigers. Give it to the Tigers.
I'll go the Knights just to
Right.
mix it up. So
It's a hard one. It's a hard one though. It's not an easy one to pick. So yeah.
yeah, I think it'll be a good game. I think I'll stay up for that one. If it might be I think it's still a 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock games, which is annoying. But maybe if a date saving might be this week over there, so maybe the games will come forward to 4 and 6, which is always a nice treat on a Sunday afternoon for once daylight savings over.
Yep.
Um, yeah, well that's it for
Definitely.
tips. Just to update on the tips, I'm currently winning 26-23. So you started the season well,
3 points
John, but
ahead,
you
eh?
you slowly just you know drifting further
Yeah.
and
It's
further
not. It's
away.
not a. It's not a good season for tipping at the moment, but we'll see. We'll see. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for listening again. As always, we're really thankful for the support. Um, we getting every week we get a lot more feedback, and it's been really great and really positive and encourages us to keep going. So, if you're listening and you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. You know you want to. So yeah,
Subscribe.
yep, that's it. Subscribe and like, and yes, send us a comment as well. We'll respond to. So have a good one, everyone, and up the wires.
Up the wires, baby. Subscribe. Choo 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 choo.